Unfortunately, it's something we look forward to every year. As you know, your fire department competes to be the best fire department or best appearing fire department in the state of Maryland. During that convention, we've won it many, many times. Unfortunately, we won't have the opportunity to do that this year. Two positive notes out of that. Number one, the trophy that's awarded to the host or to the winning company is still here in Easton because there is no winner this year. We get to claim it until they say otherwise for the remainder of the year. And secondly, it does save us a little bit of money in fuel and other expenses with our personnel going down there to do that. So we have had a little bit of cost savings by not doing that. Obviously, it's something we look forward to every year, and it's a point of company pride with us. It's also anticipated that a substantial portion of public activities that we, the Easton Volunteer Fire Department, participate in the community are either going to be canceled or rescheduled in the warmer months. Some parades, fairs, and things like that. I don't have specific instances, but we anticipate some of those cancellations. So it's definitely away from the norm for that. Our call volume for emergency incidents is down approximately 35% compared to last year. As of April 30th, 2019, we had already responded to 341 emergency incidents in or near the town of Easton. As of April 30th of this year, we had only responded to 215. So we're down approximately 35%. The positive note to that is not as many people are being hurt, not as many people have emergencies that need our service, and our personnel aren't coming out to respond to those emergencies, which limits their exposure. All of our non-emergency activities, such as training and meetings, were suspended at the same time bingo was back in March. Again, this was a preemptive measure to prevent the exposure of our people. We're working on a gradual return to some normalcy with those activities, specifically meetings and training, sometime in June. I'll update you if that's extended out for any particular reason. That's basically the state of affairs currently with the fire department. I have two other things I'd like to discuss. The first is any major incidents that we've had so far this year, and right now there's only one significant incident. On April 25th, we were dispatched for a building fire at the Athena Pharma Solutions here in Easton. The fire was started by a scissor lift, which was in the middle of the warehouse portion of the building. The scissor lift caught fire, subsequently filling the entire building. It's a 55,000 square foot building, so it's a very large building. Filled the entire building with smoke. It required a lot of people to not only mitigate the smoke, but to put the fire out and keep it contained. There are some things in the building that obviously could have contributed to fire spread had we not been progressive or aggressive in our tactics. The fire went to 3 alarms, which called in mutual aid companies from Queen Anne's, Caroline, and Dorchester counties. Damage to the building was minimal compared to what it could have been. I believe that the owner of the building was satisfied with the fire department's response as he communicated to the mayor, and I believe they're still working on getting back into business, so good for them. Anybody have any questions on that? And then last but not least, I have a special presentation. This one is for you, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind coming forward.
Oh, it's a box of money.
So this is my second time being chief of the Easton Volunteer Fire Department, and over the last year and 5 months, I've had several large-scale incidents, including when I was chief before, several large-scale incidents which required a lot of resources, not only from the local fire departments, but from the town, utilities, town workers, and other places. Typically, when we have these large-scale incidents, including the one that I just described at Athena Pharma Solutions, this gentleman right here to my left shows up. He doesn't, you don't have to call him. He'll show up. He'll come up. Obviously, we all know who he is, and he'll come right to you as the incident commander. He'll say, what do you have? What do you need from us? What can the town do to help? So in appreciation for that, Mr. Mayor, we thought if you're going to continue to come to our emergency scenes that you need to have some form of protection. So, and also identification. So I have 2 things for you here. The first, Mr. Mayor, in case you're around any roadway incidents, we have a safety vest for you.
Does it fit?
It's adjustable, I'm sure.
Okay.
And most importantly, it's important that to us that you be properly protected but also identified. So we have the shield of this specially made. So here's your very own helmet. And it says at the top, Mayor, Town of Easton, and then Willie at the bottom with the Maryland flag. So there you go, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have unless you have something for me.
Well, I do have one.
Yes, sir.
There's been a thought process, not just for you. Cool. When when you come up to a motor vehicle, say it's been in a crash and all the windows are closed, don't you, if you just sort of open the door, aren't you facing?
You are facing a potential exposure. We try to look at things, even before the coronavirus pandemic, we always practiced proper protective equipment. So we always wore gloves and things like that. What we typically require now, especially on the EMS side, is that anytime you approach a potential patient, that you at least have some form of a surgical mask or simple face mask on if you're interacting with a person that may need your help on the EMS side. But it's always a concern, you just don't know.
I was curious about how it affected you and law enforcement on traffic stops. Is it?
Yeah, for law enforcement, I can only imagine it's made their job much more difficult. And anybody that's worn a mask for a long period of time knows that eventually you start getting a little bit of hot air and you're rebreathing your own air. And if you're doing physical labor, a lot of times it makes it more difficult. So,
Well, thank you.
thank you very much. Everyone stay safe, please.
Thank you for the helmet.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, items by a member of the council. Mr. Silverstein,
I have none at this time.
you want to tell us?
I just had one brief thing, and I know the chief had a lot to run through, but I did want to mention Carol Prettyman, who is the administrator for the fire department. She's been there for years, suffered a brain aneurysm this morning. She was taken to University of Maryland, where she is supposed to undergo surgery tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And then she's expected to be in the neurological ICU for 10 to 14 days. So if you're calling up the firehouse, the chief had mentioned about calling during the daytime because Carol's usually there during the week. So we're just asking for people to not only for prayers and thoughts for her and her family, but also just to be a little patient when you're calling up to the firehouse. So absolutely.
Sure.
Just the passing of Eric Lowry last week from the president of Honor Society, so we will be greatly missed.
Pretty
and
catchy.
Just to keep the Lowry family here in your thoughts.
Okay. Just a few comments. We've progressed to the point with the COVID-19 proceed to stage one of the reopening plan. I think Talbot County's experience so far has been exemplary. We've had one of the lowest infection rates in the state. We cannot rest on our laurels, as this insidious virus can still raise its ugly head. So we must continue to religiously wear a mask as required and maintain proper social distancing. Okay, next item. Items by the mayor.
A couple of things right now, Mr. Engle. One is that we want to continue the virtual meetings with the town council through the month of June. So it will be much like we are now, and at least until the end of June. And also, I have had a conversation with Ken Cosell, who's going to plan on being here at the next meeting, give us an update on the UMMS project out on Route 50 and where they stand with that regional hospital setup. So any questions you may have, he should be able to answer.
Any questions in there? Thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Richardson.
Good evening, Mr. Engle, Council. This evening I have one bid recommendation for you from the Town Engineer's Office. As you know, we have a DNR Parks and Playground grant to transform what was formerly our old Public Works facility down at 672 Glenwood Avenue from what is now an impervious parking lot to green space. Our engineer's office has reached out to 3 local contractors to remove that asphalt and replace it with soils and grasses. So they received 3 bids, one from Bryan and Sons, one from Bramble, and one from ECM, which was a contractor that we've used recently, who only partially bid the project. The recommendation from the from the town engineer's office is to award it to Bryan and Sons in the amount of $45,000. As I said, this is a phase of a project and a $200,000 grant to restore that. They do have a line item from this particular contractor to continue the less invasive areas where they just need to strip some topsoil and replace it with good topsoil.
But this is to remove just the parking lot at the end.
This removes the parking lot at the end that's headed towards the water, and it replaces it with good topsoil and grass.
Motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That's all I have for this evening.
Okay, any more questions of Mr. Richardson?
I had just one, somebody had come up to me and asked me about the, and I didn't know the answer, the hospital parking. I think we had discussed it before. Is there any way that we can talk with the hospital about having some way, if you're parked on the street, because I believe the Easton Police Department is starting to go around and checking for parking again. Is there any way that we can have the hospital work with us to give people some kind of pass to let them park on the street when the parking is full? 'Cause
So we had a pretty detailed conversation with the hospital regards to their current load. And we can certainly revisit that, but we did discuss that with them.
okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
From the town attorney, Ms. Engle.
Just wanted to give the public a reminder that there's the special election to fill the council president seat is on Tuesday, June 9th. In-person voting will be available at the Easton Fire Department that day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There will be social distancing measures put in place to make it as safe as possible for voters. In the event that someone does not want to come for in-person voting, they can request an absentee ballot. The deadline for requesting the absentee ballot is Tuesday, June 2nd. And the way to request that is to call the town office at 410-822-2525. So,
Any questions, Ms. Engle? Thank you. We have we have a budget package we had up to review. The mayor has made, town manager made presentations. We've been open to public comment that went through close of business on Friday. We received no comments. So at this point, I will go through each ordinance or resolution that is on the agenda, and we will discuss it. And if there is agreement, then we'll take a vote on whether or not to vote for it. Okay, the first one, ordinance number 748, the budget ordinance for the 12-month period from July 12, 2019.
that should be July 1st, 2020.
I just got this off the,
I think it's wrong on the agreement.
July 1st, 2020. Does the council have any questions with respect to the budget?
I think we've had budget hearings, met with department heads, had an opportunity to visit with Mayor and Mr. Richardson on some projects that we might have wanted to have included, whether they were or not. Depends upon what the anticipated revenues are. I think the one caveat is, we have a good budget. It all depends upon the revenue that comes in. And if revenue does not come in as anticipated, then we will have to make some tough decisions later on in the fiscal year.
Ellen?
No, I thought that this year's budget cycle went very well as far as the meeting goes. Staff did a great job. Don and the mayor did a great job. I thought everything was moving.
I agree. I think it went well, and I think they took a pretty tough job based on where we are financially right now. Okay, do we have a motion to vote on the budget?
I move for ordinance number 748.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
You gotta do a roll
Rob?
call.
Mr. Silverstein?
Aye.
Mr. Abbatiello?
Yep.
Mr. Engle?
Yes?
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, ordinance 749, an ordinance to provide for the raising by taxation the amount necessary to pay the ordinary expenses of the town of Easton, and to provide for the payment of interest on the various bond issues and the reduction of certain bonds and notes for the period of 12 months, and setting the interest and penalty for delinquent bills commencing on July 1, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021. Do we have any questions from the council?
Motion for approval.
Second.
In favor?
You need to call the roll on this.
Mr. Silverstein?
Aye.
Mr. Abbatiello?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes.
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Period. Ordinance number 752, an ordinance of the town of Easton to carry forward certain capital fund expenditures in the fiscal year 2021. Any questions from the council?
Could you delineate how many dollars we're carrying over, Mr. Engel? Or
Pardon?
Mr. Richardson? Delineate how many dollars we're carrying over.
It's like 3.2 million, something like that.
$2,796,352.
There you go.
Thank you. Motion for approval.
Second.
Mr. Silverstein?
Aye.
Mr. Abbatiello?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes?
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Motion carried. Resolution number 6118, a resolution of the town of Easton revising the town's license, application, permits, inspection, certificate, and other fees. Any questions from council?
Yes, I think, just for the public's information, we have reviewed, we had a copy of the fees. We looked at what it costs for the different services. The fees are based upon the costs to reimburse the town for employees and other expenses. And it's in line with other communities that we've looked at. So I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Silverstein?
Aye.
Mr. Abbatiello?
Yes.
Mr. Engel?
Yes?
Mrs. Cook?
Yes.
Did we get any public comments from back there?
I don't see any here.
Okay.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
If you'll remember from the budget process, the budget hearing and what have you, one of the items that we wanted to try this coming year was to start the council meetings at 5:30 instead of 7 o'clock. And we will do that at the next meeting on June 1st. We'll actually start at 5:30.
Is that up for discussion, Mayor?
Pardon?
Is that point up for discussion?
Well, it could be, sure.
I wasn't sure if anyone had a comment on it.
Does it meet everybody's, schedules?
I mean, we all have conflicts here and there, but for the most part, 5:30 is fine with me.
The big thing for us was the fact that we have certain staff members that are asked to stick around for the meetings. Instead of going home, they stay right here without dinner and what have you. And it sometimes amounts to a day of 12, 13 hours for them. And with some going as far away as Vienna to get home, it's quite a lot of time at the office and also time on the road. Also, it reduces the overtime that's necessary in comp time totals. So we figured it would be nice to start this and just see how it goes. If it gets to be a problem, we can talk about it further. But would like to start on June 1st at 5:30.
Do you need a motion, Mayor, on this?
I have a question. If we have closed session, will they be prior to the start of the meeting, or will they be after? Sometimes we have closed sessions like starting at 6 o'clock or a work session. Would they be pushed to after?
What we'll do is, before we schedule any executive sessions, we'll run it by the council, see what they're good with.
I think it's a good question. I mean, if we don't involve town personnel, 5:30's gotten pretty close. I would prefer that we would have any closed session after the regular meeting if we start at 5:30.
We haven't had one for a long time, but it was pretty regular that we had meetings to 10, 11 o'clock at night. So somebody coming into work at 7, 7:30, being here at 11 o'clock, and then having an hour or so ride home, it was just too much. And hopefully we don't get back to 11 o'clock meetings.
So this starts at our next meeting?
Yes.
We might need a reminder.
Yes, we will need a reminder.
It'll be constant reminder.
I hate to ask this, but do we get a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Where's my picture?